life one big simulation? Honestly, I think so, but let's see if you do too. Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. I'm your host Emily, and today we're counting down our list of the top 10 coincidences throughout history that confirm the world is a simulation. Number 10. JFK and Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln and JFK have some uncanny similarities, and it freaks me out. They were both elected to Congress 100 years apart in 1846 and 1946 respectively. They both became president 14 years later in 1860, 1960, and both died by a fatal gunshot wound to the head and were succeeded by a man named Johnson who, wouldn't you know, just so happened to be born 100 years apart. Add to that some other coincidences like them dying on a Friday, their family names containing 7 letters, and the fact that they were both famous for their civil rights efforts, and you've got 2 presidents cut from an eerily similar cloth. So what does this mean? I don't know, but it sure is freaky. Number 9. The Jim twins. When 2 twin boys were put up for adoption in 1940 at only 3 weeks old, their adoptive parents coincidentally named them both James. Both men came to be named Jim for short, and that was just the start of it. The two would grow up only 40 miles apart from each other and live similar lives. They grew up without any contact with one another, and when they finally did meet at the age of 39, the similarities between their lives were scary. Both had beloved childhood dogs named Toy, and as school children both had a proclivity for math and woodworking, but weren't great at spelling. As adults, they both were married twice, first to a woman named Linda, then to a woman named Betty. Now when they had sons, they both named them James Allen. They were both smokers, drove Chevys, and even chose to vacation at the same Florida beach. Now on February 9th, 1979, the Jim twins were finally reunited. When their fascinating case came to light, scientists saw how very valuable they could be to the study of reunited twins. They took part in a study conducted by Dr. Thomas Bocard of the University of Minnesota, who found that their medical histories and brainwave tests were almost identical. So too were the results in personality tests. How strange is that? Sounds to me that they were programmed the exact same way. Number 8. Double-slit Experiment. In physics' famous double-slit experiments, electrons are fired at a photosensitive screen through slits in a copper plate, usually producing an interference pattern that indicates wave-like behavior. Now this type of experiment was first performed by Thomas Young in 1801 as a demonstration of the wave behavior of visible light. Now at the time, it was thought that the light consisted of either waves or particles, but with the beginning of modern physics about 100 years later, it was realized that light could in fact show behavior characteristics of both waves and particles. Some have taken this to mean our simulation is conserving its resources and rendering certain things only when it knows we're looking at them. So does this mean anything? I'm not sure, but it is something to consider. Number 7. Mandela Effect. The Mandela Effect is an observed phenomenon in which a large segment of the population misremembers a significant event or shares a memory of an event that did not actually occur. Fiona Broom, a paranormal researcher, coined the term to describe collective false memory when she discovered that a significant number of people at a conference she was attending in 2010 shared a memory that Nelson Mandela had died in prison during the 1980s. In fact, the former president of South Africa was released from prison in 1990 and was very much alive at the time of the conference. Now this has caused an uproar on the internet with people discussing their experiences. For example, some people remember Mr. Monopoly wearing a monocle when he wasn't, Kit Kat with a dash in the middle, the Berenstain Bears or the Berenstein Bears, whichever you believe, and plenty more. Now is this an accidental glitch in what we're remembering? Was it done on purpose? I don't think we'll ever know. Number 6. The Goldilocks Zone. In astronomy and astrobiology, the circumstellar habitable zone, CHZ, or simply the habitable zone, is the range of orbits around a star within which a planetary surface can support liquid water given sufficient atmospheric pressure. The habitable zone is also called the Goldilocks Zone, a metaphor allusion to the children's fairy tale of the Goldilocks and the 3 Bears, in which a little girl chooses from sets of 3 items, ignoring the ones that are too extreme, too large or small, or too hot or cold, and settling on the one in the middle, which is just right. right. Earth exists in what astrobiologists call a Goldilocks zone, close enough to a star that greenhouse gases can trap heat to keep liquid water, but far enough that the planet does not become a hothouse. People believe that us living in such an orbital sweet spot is circumstantial evidence for a simulation. And let me say, if we were in a simulation, this would be the perfect place to keep us humans. Number 5. Glitches in the Matrix. So with all computers, there can be technical difficulties, including glitches. Now, many people believe there are real-life glitches, proving we're in a simulation. These glitches are events that seem comparable to the effects of errors in computer programs or their execution. Some examples of these include objects vanishing and sometimes reappearing, people being seen by different witnesses at different locations at the same time, or not being seen in places where they should be, aka people vanishing, often for a considerable amount of times, often with multiple searches, then reappearing and claiming that they have never left the spot. Also, changes in everyday familiar objects and time slips and time freezes, where people interact with different time periods or where they observe all movement and noises cease over a relatively short or larger area. Now, some glitches have been caught on camera, and one very popular glitch that has been documented lately is girls finding a nail that has broken off, matching their same nail color/design in their room, but they are not missing any nails. So where did the broken nail come from? No one knows, but it freaks me out. Number 4. Doppelgangers. A doppelganger is a biologically unrelated look-alike or a double of a living person. As you might have heard, there are 7 other versions of you in this world. Now, a study of look-alikes, unrelated people with faces so similar they could pass for identical twins, has found that such pairs share genetic traits. Scientists studied 32 pairs of individuals with uncanny similar headshots who are a part of a long-running project by a Canadian photographer to document these faux twins. The 16 pairs found by computer analysts who have the most similar features also share more genetic variants than the less similar pairs, the researchers concluded. Now, that's not a huge surprise because researchers are already using genetics to predict face shape. The twins do not share DNA methylation patterns, chemical marks controlling gene expression that are shaped by our environment, reinforcing the dominant role DNA alone plays in determining our appearance. Number 3. Stephen Hawking's death. Now, Stephen Hawking is regarded as one of the most brilliant theoretical physicists in history. His work on the origins of the structure of the universe, from the Big Bang to black holes, revolutionized the field. Now, Stephen was seen by many as the world's smartest person, though he never revealed his IQ score. Now, as Stephen himself would tell you, time is relative, but that doesn't quite explain why his death occurred on what many consider a fairly significant day. It happened on Albert Einstein's 139th birthday, Galileo's 300th death day, and Pi Day, March 14th, where the date reads 314. Coincidence? I think not. Number 2. Philosophers. Now, throughout history, some of the world's most notable thinkers have laid out their own questions and ideas about why reality may not be exactly what it seems. According to Built-In, a significant number of people regard the simulation hypotheses as a modern offshoot of Plato's The Republic, or more specifically, the well-known allegory of the cave. In a nutshell, the scholar's allegory features cave prisoners drawing conclusions about reality from the shadows of puppets they can't actually see. Basically, a prisoner who sees the shadow cast by a book may think and draw assumptions from that shadow about what a book really is, but can only learn the truth if he breaks free and sees the actual book with his own eyes. He isn't the only philosopher though, as another example is from 1641, when philosopher René Descartes presented the idea of an evil demon powerful enough to create an illusion that looks and feels like reality. So if these people thought this, and they have advanced technologies like computers, is it just a coincidence? Or is it more? And coming in at number 1 is Violet Jessop, aka Miss Unsinkable. Violet Jessop has some horrible luck, or great luck, however you want to look at it. In 1911, she began working as a stewardess for the White Star liner RMS Olympic. Violet was on board September 20th, 1911, when Olympic left from Southampton and collided with the British warship HMS Hawke. Now, despite the damage, the ship was able to make it back to port without sinking. She continued to work on the Olympic until April 1912, when she was transferred to the sister ship Titanic. Violet boarded the RMS Titanic as a stewardess on April 10th, 1912 at age 24. 4 days later, on April 14th, it struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic and sank about 2 hours and 40 minutes after the collision. She was later ordered into Lifeboat 16, and as the boat was being lowered, one of Titanic's officers gave her a baby to look after. The next morning, Violet and the rest of the survivors were rescued by the RMS Carpathia and taken to New York City on April 18th. Then, in the First World War, Violet was a stewardess for the British Red Cross, and on the morning of November 21st, 1916, she was aboard HMHS Britannic, the younger sister ship of Olympic and Titanic that had been converted into a hospital ship when it sank in the Aegean Sea after an unexplained explosion. Britannic sank within 55 minutes, ending the lives of 30 of the 1,066 people on board. British authorities hypothesized that the ship had either been struck by a torpedo or got hit by a mine planted by German forces. Now, it's incredible that she survived all 3 incidents without getting injured, and she ended up dying at 83 of congestive heart failure in 1971. It had nothing to do with boats. Well, that's all for our list of the top 10 coincidences throughout history that confirm the world is a simulation. Do you have any simulation, glitch in the matrix stories? Let us know in the comments down below. And hey, why not like and subscribe while you're down there? I'm your host Emily, and we'll see you next time. Peace.